Welcome to FUS Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, the birthplace of Congregational Humanism. We carry on that tradition of free thought today, dedicated to promoting a free search for truth, meaning, and justice. Our web address is firstunitarian.org. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome to FUS Unitarian Society of Minneapolis on this beautiful Sunday morning, September 15th, 2024. It's good to be together in and among the many beautiful places from which we're joining. Here at FUS, we live in gratitude for the privilege of living on the traditional lands of the Dakota, Oyote, and other indigenous peoples who have cared for these lands and waters for millennia. FUS Unitarian Society is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations. Our programming is on-site live, online live, and on demand 24/7. My name is Reverend Jullan Stoneberg, here to share part of your ongoing journey as your interim minister. I'm joined today by Mike Vasich, our music director, along with our choir and the accompanist Amos. I'm so excited to hear them today. It's my first time with them on stage. I'm also thankful to Paul and Ann and Phil and all who support this gathering, as well as our exceptional media team led by Jacob Mullis. Today, our children and youth were invited to their programming on the second level at the beginning of the assembly time, and of course, all ages are always welcome right here with us. These words of Melissa Jeter, originally written as chalice lighting words, chalice extinguishing words, I've adapted slightly to use at this time. As we gather, we are illuminated by a faith that allows us to sit and think. In this time together, we can reflect in communal solitude, and meditating on love can grow out of our comfort. Though we experience discomfort, we are excited to give birth to a new and just world. And now, wherever you are, if you will, turn to your right and your left and behind and in front of you and greet one another. Tell each other how happy you are to see each other. Welcome everyone to this place of love and justice, this place where we discomfort ourselves in order to live up to humanity's highest ideals and highest hopes. We light a flame here and ask those of you at home to do the same. The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. We are led by its light, inspired by its flame, and drawn together by its warmth. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant congregation to congregation and all through our association to support one another in our ministries. And to do that, we draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on that foundation of love. So please join me in reading about this foundation of love with words printed on the screen as Paul lights our flame. Love at the center. Together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. And now our chalice is lit, and I invite you, as you're willing and able, to stand to read our congregational covenant. Love is the spirit of this place, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning. Hey, there we go. Good morning. Excuse my mask. I've got a little cold, but it's nice to be here with you all. This is our first performance with our Chalice Choir for the fall season. If anybody, hey, okay, all right. If anybody is interested in joining, we do still have room for additional voices. We had about 4 more people that got colds between Wednesday and today, and we're down a little bit, but there's always room for additional singing. We meet Wednesday evenings at 6:30 right in this Dietrich room here. So you are invited to join if you would like to do so. Today we're going to open up the season with a piece by a local composer named Elizabeth Alexander called Like a Leaf. And we have this September is a month of invitation. And today we also are going to be talking about and thinking about an invitation to discomfort. So this first piece is kind of about a leaf. The text is basically, let me be like a leaf as it falls without abandon, without any fear of where it's going to go. And then in the middle, we're going to do a song that was brought to us by Dave Lessler, which is like a circle song. It's very repetitive, and we may be asking you to help sing it, so beware. That's coming later. And then at the end of the program, we're going to be doing a song by one of my favorite choral composers, who's a contemporary living composer he went to Yale Divinity School, and named Mark Miller. We've done this one before. It's kind of a famous one in UU churches and circles called Draw the Circle Wide by Mark Miller. So that is our music for today. Thank you for being here. And we're going to start with the piece by Elizabeth Alexander.
Rise up joyful like a bird.
So the story I'm about to tell you is one that lives on in infamy in UU circles. It's told here in the words of Jessica York, and she begins by setting a context. Unitarian Universalism is a living faith. We think that people should be free to believe what they must believe, the truth of their life experiences, instead of professing belief in what they are told to believe. And this is what we mean when we say ours is a creedless religion. Creeds are often associated with orthodoxy, and those who do not agree with the beliefs stated in the creed are often labeled as heretical. Being a living faith means that any one of us can change what we believe if we experience a deeper truth that contradicts our previous beliefs. But in order to change, we must be open to new thoughts, new ideas, new experiences. We have to have our ears open to hear the experiences of the people with whom we share community. When we come together in community, we have the opportunity to listen to each other and to gain a perspective greater than what we would have had alone. And to listen not only with our ears, but with our hearts. So here's the story. In 1948, and it's not that it's changed that much since then, most congregations in the United States were segregated by the color of their members' skin. Some were segregated by law, others by custom, or by a lack of actively trying to welcome and include all people. The First Unitarian Society of Chicago was one of those congregations. Although their church was located in a neighborhood with many African Americans, only whites could join, according to the written bylaws of the church and according to custom. The day came when many members began to believe that if they really wanted to live their values and principles, they needed to take action against racism. The minister, the Reverend Leslie Pennington, was ready for this day and ready to take action. And so was James Luther Adams, a well-known and respected liberal theologian and social ethicist. Adams taught at the Meadville Lombard Theological School right across the street from First Unitarian Society, Chicago. And he was a member of the board of directors. So Reverend Pennington and James Luther Adams joined with others to propose a change in the church's bylaws to desegregate the church. They saw this as a way to put their love into action. But in 1948, desegregation, in fact, anything about skin color and racism, was controversial. Some people, even some of those who supported African Americans in demanding their civil liberties, still believed in a separate but equal policy. And when the congregation's board considered the desegregation proposal, most of them supported it. However, one member of the board objected. "Your new program is making desegregation into a creed," he said. "You're asking everyone in our church to say they believe desegregating or inviting, even recruiting people of color to attend church here is a good way to tackle racism. What if some members don't believe this?" Respectful debate ensued. Both sides felt in their hearts that their belief was right. And the debate went on in the board meeting until the early hours of the morning. Everyone was exhausted and frustrated. Finally, James Luther Adams remembered that we should be listening twice as much as talking. He asked the person who had voiced the strongest objection, "What do you say is the purpose of this church?" Suddenly, everyone was listening. Everyone wanted to hear the answer to this question. Probably the person who objected was also listening especially hard to his own heart, as well as to the words he'd heard from other board members through the long discussion. And this board member, who opposed opening the church to people of color, finally replied, "Okay, Jim, the purpose of this church is to get a hold of people like me and change them." The First Unitarian Society of Chicago successfully desegregated. Now, speaking of discomfort, let me introduce our first song, "I Wish I Knew How," which began as a jazz song by pianist Billy Taylor, who wrote it for his daughter. The song became an anthem for the civil rights movement, and it's been recorded by a number of singers, from Nina Simone to John Legend. And because it was written and performed within the Black community, many of us must acknowledge that we cannot experience or understand the deep meanings within the text. Of course, many of the songs in our songbook were written by people of color. Some of them were choosing not to sing anymore. But sometimes singing these words can be a way to embody a shared vision of a different future. But in so doing, we must also be open to seeing the harms done by people of privilege and power. So singing this today is an invitation to be discomforted. And I invite you to sing this with curiosity, to wonder how it is that someone with a different life experience might long to feel free, or to share love, or to give of themselves. Please stand as you are willing and able to sing. It's number 151 in the Gray Songbook. I wish I knew how. It would feel to be free. I wish I could break all these chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things I could say. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear, for the whole world to hear. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear, for the whole world to hear. I wish I could share all the joy in my heart. Remove all the bars that still keep us apart. I wish we could know what it means to be me. That you'd see and agree everyone should be free. That you'd see and agree everyone should be free. I wish I could give all the longing to give. I wish I could live like I'm longing to live. I wish I could do all the things I can do. Though I'm way overdue, I'd be starting anew. Though I'm way overdue, I'd be starting anew. I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. How sweet it would be if I found I could fly. I'd soar to the sun and look down at the sea. Then I'd sing 'cause I know how it feels to be free. Then I'd sing 'cause I know how it feels to be free. Let me be seated. First Unitarian Society is a congregational humanist community. We're here for each other, our neighbors, our planet, and one manifestation of this is our caring team. Ann Stykes was to be here this morning, but she's not feeling well and perhaps needs a bit of care herself. When we gather on Sundays, we take a few moments to reflect on our human experience, the joys, sorrows, and milestones, and we do this so that we can stay in touch with our humanity and to remind ourselves of the value of a moment of stillness. This week, we did not receive any news to share, but of course that doesn't mean that there are not many joys and sorrows and milestones among us. Let me remind you all that if there's something you would like to share anytime, please send a note to joysandsorrows@firstunitarian.org. Now I invite you to speak into the silence the name of anyone you wish to hold in care. And as the silence continues, let's reflect on all who are suffering, that we may find ways to comfort the suffering and to work for justice. During the last 2 Sundays, we added a drone voice to the meditation on breathing chant. And today, with the help of the choir, we're adding a third part. But let's just begin with that drone voice, and we'll take it from there. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Good morning. As you know, we've come to a place in the life of this congregation where we're being asked to stop what we're doing and ask questions about who we are and who we want to become. This poem by David White speaks to such a time. It's entitled Sometimes and is found in his collection, Everything is Waiting for You. Sometimes, if you move carefully through the forest, breathing like the ones in the old stories, who could cross a shimmering bed of leaves without a sound, you come to a place whose only task is to trouble you with tiny but frightening requests, conceived out of nowhere, but in this place beginning to lead everywhere. Requests to stop what you are doing right now and to stop what you are becoming while you do it. Questions that can make or unmake a life. Questions that have patiently waited for you. Questions that have no right to go away.
Just for a tiny bit of context here, we're going to try a piece here that's very simple and repetitive, and you are invited to sing along. We have kind of divided ourselves into two subgroups here. This is going to be basically a group A, and so if you're on this side over here, you are invited to follow and sing with this group. And likewise, if you're on this side, you are invited to follow the lead of this group here to sing a two-part congregational song. It's about being open to the possibility, so be open. Here we go. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and
be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibility. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibility. Aye, 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 to happen. Be open to the possibility. One more time. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibility. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibility.
So Ralph Waldo Emerson said that nothing is secure in life. Nothing is secure but life, transition, and the energizing spirit. People wish to be settled. Only insofar as they are unsettled is there any hope for them. And I want to thank everybody for going along with a little unsettling earlier in the service when I took things in the wrong order. So thank you. It wasn't intentional, but I guess it means there's hope for y'all. I want to begin by offering gratitude for the recent warm weather. You see, I said in the blurb about this service that, as is true for our reliance on air conditioning, it's easy to get used to having our human environment organized to please us and our ways of being. Now, I may take the analogy a little too far this morning, but just as there are benefits to sitting on the front porch to cool off on a summer night, there are benefits to choosing to be in the presence of difference, even when it makes us uncomfortable. And I want you to feel a bit uncomfortable today, which is why I hope this bit of heat means that you can identify with that feeling, as well as with the comfort that air conditioning offers. Maybe that will help my message to sink in a bit further. And I offer a little bit of a caveat in case you think I'm being a bit frivolous with this analogy. I do, of course, know that air conditioning saves lives. I know and am grateful for the comfort it offered my mother, whose multiple sclerosis left her with little tolerance for temperature change. I know that there are many people suffering in the world for lack of it. I also know the heavy tax it takes on our energy grid and its contribution, quite ironically, to climate change. So while I'm using air conditioning not literally, but rather to help us imagine feeling both comfort and discomfort, just know that I'm not unaware of the reality of air conditioning. So, do you feel more comfortable now? And of course, air conditioning is convenient and comfortable when it's sweltering outdoors. It takes the humidity out of the air, it allows us to breathe, to move freely, to get things done, to have physical energy, to put on one set of clothes and not have to change because they get soaked out from sweat. Air conditioning, allows our brains to think without the stress of heat and to relax and to sleep well, to get our work done in relative comfort. And no wonder we like it. We rely on it. In a similar way, many of us have found ways to control how we go about in the world. We travel in circles of familiarity, have friendships with the like-minded who speak the same language, take in the news and entertainment we choose, and find silos of connection on social media. And in our Western culture, it can be quite easy to live a conditioned life. We can begin to feel that the way we see the world is the best, if not the only way to exist. And without a doubt, a conditioned life is the easiest. It's been engineered to suit us. It's the path of least resistance. It makes collaboration and projects go smoother and faster. There's little that comes along to addle our brains. We don't have to question or change our way of doing things. The systems we've crafted around us, we've made to work for us. But have you ever heard someone say that they don't like air conditioning because it feels like fake air? Indeed, it is not coming to us unaltered. It's like it's been genetically engineered. And perhaps once in a while we notice that, and we get that nagging feeling that we're living in a bubble. But then, of course, we get into our sun-drenched cars on a summer midday, and instead of stopping what we're doing and asking questions about what we're feeling, we turn the air conditioning on full blast until we can again feel, well, comfortable. Because without air-conditioned air, without that conditioning, we are forced to feel the direct impact of the elements, the real world over which we have little control. And so it's much easier to look away and step back into our own bubbles. And, well, of course, that is if we have the privilege of having such a bubble. And yet I would argue that a conditioned life is not the privilege it would seem to be. One of my favorite poems is Rumi's Guest House, which asks us to welcome and entertain whatever comes to our door. That is, to welcome whatever reality confronts us. Rumi said, even if it's a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, invite it in. Invite it in because it may be clearing you out for some new delight. And wouldn't that be something? To be cleared out for some new delight, some new possibility. So while uncomfortable, there promises to be huge benefit when we expose ourselves to the real world, to actually live in the real world, because it is there that we confront things that call us to engage in being self-reflective and to wonder why we feel unsettled, to stop, to ask questions. Why do I feel so uncomfortable? Do I feel threatened? Am I resisting something? What can I learn here? It's in the real world that we find our greatest teachers, because there we encounter things as yet unknown, which indeed can be very uncomfortable for those of us with big brains. It makes us squirm to not yet understand something. And yet we have to be in the place of not knowing in order to learn something new. In the real world, that's where we're confronted with what Thoreau called the whole and genuine meanness of life. Of course, we can look at Thoreau's Escape to the Woods as an escape from real life. Yet for him, I think he went there to escape what had become a comfortable and removed existence, at least from the natural world. It is in the real world that we can know and feel the pain of others, where we can exercise our compassion, where we can find meaning and purpose. Now, my intent today is not to suggest any particular exposure to the elements. My focus is on my or our white normative experience of living in a comfortable space where our perceptions and experiences are centered. My concern is that the world around us is changing at lightning speed, and that there are big changes coming for this congregation too. And when we've gotten too comfortable, when we're confronted with things that jangle our reality, it's easy, maybe even natural, to react defensively, to go into hiding, to feel that we deserve our comfort, and that any challenge to that comfort is a threat, and that our privilege, our existence, is being attacked. And that means we stay stuck in places where we can't even imagine what it feels like to be free. Surely it's true that when we feel uncomfortable, we can react thoughtlessly and even harmfully. What if instead we could learn to welcome discomfort as an invaluable friend? You know, we have to be discomforted in order to embrace or encourage change. In the words of Dennis McCarthy in his book, A Gadfly Report, he said, "Progress and enrichment do not come from maintaining one's own comfort level. Enrichment can't come from maintaining our comfort. Enrichment and positive change come from becoming more comfortable with being uncomfortable." And so it would seem the skill we need is to exist in discomfort without the skill we need is to exist in discomfort without reactivity, to welcome it, and to learn to live with greater humility and curiosity. You know, to be willing really to stick it out in the real world. Now, don't go thinking I have this figured out. I'm not immune to feeling uncomfortable and wanting to get away from it. You know, let me be uncomfortably vulnerable here and say that sometimes, as one example, my introverted self can get quite uncomfortable and even judgmental in the presence of those who live big and loud. This, even though I believe in each person's right to express themselves. This, even though I want to delight in the many ways that we are different. And so I try, sometimes successfully, to just get curious in those moments and wonder why I feel uncomfortable, especially in the presence of someone who's living their authentic selves, to find those questions that have been patiently waiting for me so that something can get a hold of me and I might be changed. What are the questions patiently waiting for you? What are those places, those unconditioned places? Is it when you're in the midst of cultural difference, unfamiliar locations, gender diversity, maybe particularly as expressed in pronouns, in the company of a social class different than your own, in conversation with someone of a different political persuasion, or maybe when you see the truth of violence or genocide or famine around the world? How might you be changed by allowing yourself to be in those uncomfortable places, to stick with it and not to turn away or escape? Man, we resist that. It's so hard. But here's the thing, it's a practice. So it's completely normal for it to be hard and uncomfortable to be uncomfortable. Just know that making you uncomfortable is a part of my job as your interim minister. I am, in fact, your discomfort trainer. During a transition, more than ever it is true, as is often said, a minister's job is to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. In Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, we must open ourselves to re-education, and in that process, change the narrative of how we view ourselves. We need to compel ourselves to acknowledge and to listen to those who are unlike us, those who are at the margins. We need to pester ourselves to name things clearly and face them head on, and to begin to recognize how conditioned our lives are, which for many of us is conditioning that's steeped in white supremacy culture and white fragility, and come to recognize our lives as something really not all that well examined. Dennis McCarthy, in the book I mentioned earlier, makes several important points about being discomforted. First, he says that clinging to the comforts of privilege and rejecting change and learning means that we'll miss out on the brightest possibilities in our future. You know, if we truly believe in evolution, then we have to be willing to engage in the change it requires. He reminds us that we are not prisoners of our comfort, not unless we choose to be. Second, he says we are a covenantal faith, and that covenant is not about being perfect. Our covenant with one another asks us to be humble. Covenant is about seeking understanding, overcoming our personal and institutional egos, and getting back into relationship when and where relationship has been damaged. Humbly. Covenant can be uncomfortable, and yet it is the glue that binds us to one another. And lastly, we have chosen to be here together. This is a free, voluntary association. We've chosen to be fellow travelers exploring this ever-changing landscape. We don't have the answers yet. We never do. And yet we're not done with our changes, so let's keep stopping to ask questions. Keep on stopping to ask questions, pondering, being curious and forthright, getting comfortable with discomfort. It takes some courage to step out of our conditioned bubbles and to sit on the front porch even in sweltering heat. But doing so, it enables us to get to know our neighbors and the realities of their lives. It also allows them to get to know us in our imperfection and our vulnerability. It is within this neighborhood of authentic diversity that we can find greater love and justice and equity. If we can get to that place together, I believe that we can move toward a human, intellectual, and social abundance previously unknown to us, that place of bright possibility, a greater humanity than we have known. So let's go there. Let us be discomforted in the service of a shining vision. May it be so. And now let's sing again. This is Holly Near's beautiful song about being open to change, even when it's uncomfortable, even when times are tough. If you don't know it, you will soon. It just keeps coming around again. So just join in when you're ready. Please rise in body and or spirit to sing.
Those who
Hello, I'm Julie Stewart, and I serve on your Board of Trustees. I'm here today to tell you about a need we have and an opportunity. Stewardship is defined as the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. At FUS, we have a stewardship committee, and it is entrusted with looking after the health and prosperity of this community. We see these committee members in action during the yearly pledge drive, but they work year-round, carefully overseeing our monthly pledge revenue, reaching out to and engaging with members, and planning campaigns and events to celebrate member generosity. We have a core of committed volunteers who have formed the Stewardship Committee for something like a decade. I've attended a few of their recent meetings and have been struck with how well these folks work together, how easy and comfortable they are with each other, and how much fun they have together. In the words of one committee member, being on the team gave me a strong sense of caring for the financial and personal well-being of FUS and its members. We frequently drew on input from our ministers, the care team, and each other to make decisions about budget projections and pledging contacts. We developed a camaraderie that kept us going for many years, I'll say. But 10 years is a long time to serve in any capacity, and I think you can agree that it's time for some new faces on that committee. This is your opportunity to step up and help with this vital activity. You'll deepen your connections to this community, be part of a cohesive team with an inspiring mission, and most of all, help keep FUS strong and healthy into the future. For the next several Sundays, we will have a table in the lobby outside the Upper Assembly Hall where you can pick up additional information or speak with one of us further. In addition to myself, Ann Beecher and Shelley Schroeffler will be on hand to help in this effort. Thank you.
Julie. I think I'm going to have to look at the sewer committee here. First Unitarian Society is a free, independent, and self-governing humanist community. I'm Peter Discoli. I want to say a few things about the past, the future, and the present of this self-governing body. The past is more personal. We, that is my children and their mother, came here looking for a community. Those children are about 40 now. This place, this institution has fed me, has given me a home for 40 years. I came here and come here having found that community. It's an important part of my life. Future. In 1992, the foundation was established at at FUS, the foundation of the First Unitarian Society. The goal is to perpetuate support for the work of the First Unitarian Society and to offer benefactors an opportunity to leave an enduring legacy. I seem to have become a benefactor. I know many here and others before me. Well, in fact, anybody can be a benefactor. I mention the second institution as I find that it sits in the shadows. Many here, at best, have a vague idea that it exists. So here's a quick rundown of what I understand in 5 easy parts. There is a central, that is most central, is the endowment fund, and this along with the Future Is Now and the unrestricted funds support FUS directly. There is a second group, the Hop Henderson RE Fund and the Bill Ogram Fund that support what we call religious education here at FUS. The Sigmund Safer Music Fund and the Safer Visual Arts Fund obviously support the arts here. And the Kurt Pearson and the Wilson Fund support social justice efforts here at FUS. Last and most recent, the Snoffer Hutchinson Healthy Sexuality Education Fund is here, as you can hear, for healthy sexuality, wrapped up in the UUA's great efforts at Our Whole Lives. If you'd like any more information about the last one, please find me. Otherwise, there are a number of members of the foundation. I see a few here. You can talk to them if you have any further questions in that regard. The present. Present is where everything happens. Because of the generosity of the members and friends in talent, time, and treasure, we're able to bring our message of justice and hope to the world. It is up there, great. You can scan the QR code on the screen, which will give you to the giving page on our website. There you will find several easy ways to contribute to our mission, as well as a pledge form for planning giving. If you are in the building and want to give cash or check, please stop by the office. Thank you. Thank you.
It's that time of year again. Registration has started for Retreat to the Woods. Join us at beautiful Baker Outdoor Learning Center in Medina, Minnesota for a weekend of fellowship, relaxation, and renewal. You will enjoy food, hiking and biking trails, canoeing, nearby lakes, and a few interesting and varied workshops in a quiet and protected setting surrounded by 3,300 acres of marshes, meadows, and mature forest. The settlement is about 30 minutes west of Minneapolis. The site has a tenting area and 8 log cabins. Each cabin has a wood-burning stove and 8 bunk beds with mattresses. There are modern composting toilet facilities and a shower facility near the cabins, as well as full restrooms at the main lodge. Baker does not allow pets. The retreat is a family-friendly, all-volunteer event for and by members of FUS and friends. Being a communal endeavor, we ask that all attendees 13 and older contribute to its success by pitching in to do a one-time assigned task. Tasks range from 15 minutes to 1 hour in duration. In this way, we can keep costs down and all enjoy working, relaxing, and communing with one another and nature. You can register for this year's retreat now. There will be a table with information and registration forms during the mini-meal today and on September 15th. Stop by with any questions and grab a registration form. You can also register and pay online on the FUS website under Events/Retreat to the Woods. Deadline for registration is September 15th. We look forward to seeing you there.
Yay. So the deadline's today. Register downstairs. And also downstairs, please join us for a scrumptious mini meal. Today's menu is Mexican black bean lasagna, vegetarian or vegan, with yellow rice, or chicken morango, which is chicken with mushrooms and savory sauce over pasta, finished with chocolate chip pumpkin cake that is also vegan and gluten-free. So, I also invite you to join me in the Chalice Room at 12:15 to learn more about the UUA's new Statement of Values and Covenant. And with that, let's wrap up our time together in this space. As Paul comes to extinguish our chalice, please join me in speaking the words on the screen. And in closing, I share this prayer for living in tension, which was written by my colleague Joe Cherry. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, as a humble people, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving. So now, rejoicing in the power of the human spirit, go out into the world and do what makes you come alive. So may it be.